Our guest today is Nick Franklin, CEO and founder of ChartMogul. ChartMogul we use at Wales, so I'm very excited to chat to you, Nick. Please, you founded ChartMogul actually on the 1st of October, if I'm not mistaken, 2014. That's 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Lisa. My name's Nick and the company at ChartMogul. Yeah, so it was incorporated, like the registration, the official birthday of the company, I guess, was 10 years ago, earlier this month, at the start of this month. Yeah.
So we couldn't think of anyone better qualified to talk on the subject of scaling. Give us a short context of from there to here. Like, how did you go from, okay, I work at Zendesk, I'm going to start this company, ChartMogul, here it is, and here we are 10 years later.
Yeah, I guess you could probably divide it into two stories, I suppose. One is like the first year or so, which was quite, a crazy year or so, right? A crazy couple year 1 or 2 years at the start, which was like I had been working in, and then I would say the last 8 to 9 years have been like, much more around like execution and team and customers and improving the product, launching new products and things like that. But the first year or so, the first 1 to 2 years, kind of like the crazy, like, is it going to work time? So, I worked at Zendesk for about 5 years, and that was on their commercial side. I was kind of there leading their team in Europe and then leading their team in Asia to expand Zendesk into Asian markets. And so it's very much a commercial role, hiring salespeople, support people, account managers, training them, doing a sales support and account management myself as well, and opening up offices and partnerships and all that kind of commercial stuff, which was good learning. But honestly, it wasn't like where my heart was. It wasn't where my kind of true passion was. But there's enjoyable parts about that stuff, about that type of work. My heart is more into the designing products, creating products. Before that, I was in product management role, product design role before that. And so I kind of wanted to get back into that, back into creating and stuff. And also I thought, I worked in software then for getting close to 7 years. And I felt like, okay, if I want to try and see if I can, apply what I've learned, I guess, as an employee, to see if I can then, start a company, to have that ambition to start a company. So, and I tried a few times before, but never really gone all in, never really quit a comfortable, well-paid kind of job and just said, okay, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to spend some of my own money on this. I'm going to try and make it happen. So I basically did that. Yeah. Like I when I was, about a year before I launched, or a year or two before I launched, I started learning like Ruby on Rails, getting back into JavaScript. I hadn't written any code for about 5 years either. So I had to like kind of get, reskill myself there a bit. And then I went part-time at Zendesk, hired some contractors to help me build a prototype. And I was also building it with them. And we launched the early version of the product in late 2014. And the rest is history. We got our first paying customer at the start of 2015, or in like January 2015. And we raised some venture capital money as well. So some seed money for some great investors, Point 9 Capital and some others, and my old boss from Zendesk, actually. So, and then, like since then, it's just been like a 9 year kind of like build upon, just kind of building up, on top of what was already built. But like the initial part is obviously the highest risk part, where it's like, is it going to work or not? Was this a good decision
Finding
or not?
that market fit.
Yeah, exactly. Like figuring out like what is going to resonate with customers, and will they want to use it, and then will they want to be willing to pay for it, right? That's the risky part of the beginning. And then it's like, there's obviously execution risk, and things can go wrong, and you can make bad decisions, which of course I made plenty of bad decisions, and some good ones and some bad ones, whatever. But and then yeah, just kept going from there, I guess.
I mean, for those who don't know, we could not run Whale without ChartMogul because it is pivotal to us viewing our metrics from basically every conceivable angle and really refining those. Was that the idea from the beginning?
Yeah, so I think the idea was, like there was kind of two things really. One was at Zendesk, we were measuring some of this stuff internally, and other SaaS businesses were sort of measuring this stuff. There had been some blog posts about how to measure this stuff in Excel. At Zendesk, they're using Good Data, which was a general BI product. And, I think most people are still using Excel. You could use a sort of general BI type product. And I felt like maybe there's enough. This is like 2014. I thought maybe there's enough subscription businesses that would like to buy a product that would kind of do that for them. So they have to do it themselves. It wasn't 100% clear how many of them there were. And SaaS is obviously, it was a good timing because SaaS obviously taken off a lot since then. And I mean, other people had the idea around the same time as we started building. And I remember like one of the engineers that I'd hired off of Upwork to help me, build one of the integrations was like messaging me and saying, hey, have you seen this? And it was like one of our competitors had just launched. And I was like, oh, damn, that looks kind of similar to what we were building. And measures MRR, plugs into Stripe and measures MRR and stuff. And I remember thinking, damn, I honestly think I'd have all the time in the world because I thought this is the most niche-y of niche ideas ever. Like nobody else would build a subscription analytics, SaaS metrics, SaaS product. I really thought it was like hyper niche and no one else would have the same idea. But of course, we had a bunch of competitors launching. I think we got to market like second, and then there was a third and a fourth coming like in the months and years that followed. So yeah, I think, at Zendesk, it was like customer service, you need that. Then there's like CRM. So the idea that someone would launch a subscription analytics, recurring revenue analytics product just seemed like so niche that nobody else would come up with the idea. But yeah, of course they did, yes.
So I've read quite a lot of your interviews and I've seen you talk a lot around product-led growth. I'm interested in why do so many fail to launch a business and why did you succeed? Was it because of that product-led growth, or was it something else?
I think one thing that like some founders have, different founders have different skills, right? So some are very good at sales, some are very good at marketing, some are good engineers, right? I'm not really any of those. I would say like I'm a really poor engineer. I'm an okay, mediocre sales and marketing person. But I think where I'm relatively strong is in product and product design. And I generally have a good sense for what is going to resonate with users, with the market. Like I generally have a feeling before we build something, whether or not it's going to sell or not, like whether or not people are going to use it or maybe buy it or whatever, like whether or not they're going to find it useful. So I can generally, before we even start working on something, or just in the early design phase, kind of look into the future a little bit and see, okay, if we finish designing this and then build this and then release this, are a lot of people going to get excited about this? And how excited about this are they going to get? Is it going to be like, yeah, it's kind of a nice to have, we don't really need it, but it could be useful one day maybe? Or is it going to be, holy shit, I gotta have this, I really need this. This solves really important problem for us, and the way it solves it is so is really awesome, and you hit the nail on the head. I think that's kind of something that I have a good sense for. And I think that's probably the main reason why ChartMogul was a success. And when I see founders who launch things that don't have so much success and traction, and sometimes over and over again, I think it's often they're not quite able to instinctively kind of figure out whether or not what built is something that people will want. Now, of course, you can get around that by doing lots of, you can do like customer interviews, and you can do like research, and you can do all these kind of other things. But, you know, like to try and get a sense for, oh, you know, is there a need for this or not? And that's more like what large companies do, right? Like they kind of like, let's sort of focus group and figure out what product we should launch into this demographic or whatever. But I've never been like that. I just kind of do things more, you know, based on just what I feel.
Okay.
Versus like trying to analyze, you know, will people use it? Yeah. So I guess with ChartMogul, we really started building it, and then we saw this competitor had launched, and that competitor started to get traction. So I had some sense that we were onto something, but I didn't know 100%. Okay, is this a really good idea? But when we saw that competitor launch and get some traction, I was like, oh damn, it is a good idea. We just haven't launched it yet. So then I was like, okay, it's now or never. And I had gone part-time. And then I was like, okay, well, if I really want to have a chance to make, you know, get in the ring, right, I should just quit my job fully and go full-time. So that was a bit of a motivator to help me go like full-time to see that. So yeah.
Okay. I mean, looking back, what were the key markers for you of scaling?
Like key milestones.
Was it, key milestones that every time you reached a specific point, you thought, okay.
Well, I mean, there's always some nice milestones when you get like your first $1 million of ARR, which is like $83,334 MRR, and we have these T-shirts probably in the office somewhere. And these T-shirts where it's like, I don't have one like right on my desk, but like they're pretty cool. Where it's like got the 83,334. It's like an inside joke dollars. Like no one really knows what it means unless you work in SaaS, because when you multiply it by 12, it equals $1 million. That's a really fun milestone. And then when you get to like $1 million, you say, you know, our company makes over $1 million. And then when you get to like 2 million, you say, well, we make millions of dollars, right? You know, so it's kind of cool. And then when you get to like 5 million, it's a big deal. And you know, from there and there and there, right? So I think, and like customer, there's some good milestones, like when you get over 100 paying customers, and when you get over like 1,000 paying customers, that's pretty good. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. We just had our 10-year anniversary. That was a pretty cool milestone. We had a big party in Croatia.
Sure that.
Yeah, like 58, 59 people. I think like there was about 9 people that couldn't come, but like for whatever reason, like
wow.
To get there. But most of the team came, so it was a pretty cool event, and that's a good milestone that we managed to like stay in business for 10 years, I suppose. It's not really a scaling milestone, but yeah. I don't really.
Significant.
Yeah, I don't honestly think too much about scaling like on a day-to-day basis. I mostly just think about like, how do we make the product better? How do we make our customers happier? How do we, you know, grow revenue? How do we get more customers? You know, these kind of things. Versus, I don't really think about, because we're not really like a hyper-scaling type of company, you know, like, so it's more just like how do we grow?
That's probably great advice. Stop thinking about scaling and start focusing on what matters. Customer, product, delivering. That in itself is probably the secret to scaling.
Well, I think, I mean, I think the companies that need to think about scaling is like when they are growing so fast, like there's such a pull from the market for what you have that, you know, you do have these scaling challenges, right? If you're Uber and you want to, you know, clearly it was an amazing idea unlocked by, you know, mobile phones with GPSs and Google Maps APIs and whatever. Like they kind of like that, all that technology, and then the idea for Uber, it kind of unlocked that, and clearly the whole world wanted it. So for them, it was like, we have to scale. We have to like, there is all these challenges of like hiring and training teams of people and partnerships and, you know, yada yada. So that's really like scaling. But I think for most SaaS businesses, it's not really like that. Yeah, I mean, Zendesk was a little bit like that, I guess. Like we did, when I left, it was about 600 or 700 people, and we had just like gone IPO'd, and so there was some sort of, okay, like we need to like, you know, add more people and kind of keep up with the demand and have enough people to support them and to sell this. So there was kind of a slight scaling challenge at Zendesk when I was there, but it wasn't like, you know, when you hear the stories of people that worked at like, places like Uber, or I don't know, maybe some of these like hyperscaling type of companies, right?
So I know we were chatting a bit before we started, and we were talking about processes, and you were saying that you potentially don't believe that much in processes. But then how do you get new team members on board, and how do you make things happen?
Well, I mean, I just don't believe in too much like process. I think like what's important, right, is that you build a great product and that you have happy customers that don't cancel, and you find more new customers that will buy your product, right? And that's like the core of a SaaS business, right? There's nothing else to it really. Everything that you like build around that, like, you know, needs to be in service of making that happen. Like building the product, improving the product, supporting the product, marketing the product, and selling the product. Like everything else needs to be like in service of that. And it should be minimally in service of that. Like, you know, like you do need processes, right? You do need processes for when you have 60 plus people on staff. You need things like performance annual like pay review. There needs to be some process. Or, you know, for onboarding people, you know, you need to get them up and running but, you know, it should be, you know, everything should be, I feel like, kept to a minimum, kept as simple as possible, kept as, you know, I guess just as simple and as minimal as possible, and in service of what's actually important to the customer. And I feel like, you know, it's really easy for companies to have kind of process creep and then the people who work at the company start to think, oh well, you know, what did you get done this week? And they're like, oh well, I completed this process, and I did that training, and I filled out, I completed the, you know, this and that. And it's like, yeah, but that's just that's stuff that helps the company but doesn't help the customers,
Right.
And it's just like helping other people at the company who've invented these processes feel like something's happened, like, oh, we did lots of stuff, but then none of the stuff is like really improving the core of the business, which is like the product and the customers, right? So
that's a great point.
That's my issue, I guess.
That's a great point, because we do talk about this as well, that process should support growth, not hamper it. So processes are there basically to continuously improve the way of work, and the way of work should continuously deliver outcomes and metrics that the business is looking for. And the minute that process becomes disconnected from what the business is trying to achieve, then you basically have what you describe, which is bureaucracy.
Yeah, and it's really, and I think that's the natural, that's what entropy, right? That's what it leads to.
100%.
Like bloated bureaucracy. And I feel like it's really easy, even for a company like ours with less than 100 people, to somehow gravitate towards that if we're not very careful and diligent at, like, you know, not letting that happen.
Yeah. That's a great point. Looking back, anything you would have done differently?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's just like a huge number of like mistakes and like hindsight. It'd be great to go back and not build as many microservices. That was definitely like a lot of wasted cycles to build them and then just rewrite them inside of a monolith application. So, and then some definitely plenty of mistakes. You know, I think sometimes there's hiring mistakes that you couldn't, you know, weren't really mistakes, just didn't work out, you know, seemed like, you know, but sometimes it's like, you know, if you really were clear with yourself about what the company really needs, and like, if you really, then, you know, maybe, you know, so I think like always the hardest things, like are the hiring related things, where it's like, you know, if you where hires don't work out, and that's never good. So I think I don't know how to frame it as like, what would I do differently? But I think,
well, I guess you learn as you go
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
without those mistakes.
I think we probably should have spent more on engineering earlier and less on marketing in our early years. I think there was enough kind of word of mouth to carry us in the early years, like the first 2 or 3 years of the company's life. There was enough word of mouth. There was enough inbound trials. We didn't need to spend money on Google ads or Facebook ads. I don't think it was really necessary, trying to figure out. I think we should have invested more heavily in engineering, because I don't think we quite realized the scope, the size of the product and engineering challenge to create the platform that we've built today. So now we have more than 30 engineers, and that's a good number. We're still hiring more, but it would have been great to have that build up happen a bit earlier in the company's life. I think that build up happened about 5 years ago. And I think for the first 4 or 5 years, it'd probably be under engineered. I'd say that in terms of capacity. Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of things like that where it's like, if we do it again, and I knew everything about the market and the business and everything I know now, it's like, sure, I could execute everything perfectly. Our revenue would be like double what it is today.
So I'm sure every founder has that story.
Yeah.
So last question. I know your time is super valuable. Going forward, where are you now? Are you kind of like, wow, this has been an amazing 10-year journey. What's the next thing? Or is there still a lot in terms of product vision, or what, like, you as the founder, where's the vision?
Yeah, so we've been at it for more than 10 years, but really it's just like the start, because we still haven't really, there's still so much to build for subscription analytics. I think maybe in the next 2 or 3 years we'll start to feel like, okay, we've got a really strong subscription analytics platform now that can scale with our customers to 100 million ARR and beyond. I think, regularly, we obviously have some customers with more than 100 million, but it's most of our customers are smaller. So I think there's a lot to do there. And we've also launched a CRM. It's the first CRM in the world really tailored for B2B SaaS companies, especially like SMB B2B SaaS, mid-market B2B SaaS companies with integrated subscription analytics. So that's really, really cool. We use it internally. We're getting more and more of our customers starting to use it, and even some new people moving off of the, incumbent HubSpot type companies to use us, which is really awesome to see. So we're just getting started. We haven't even scratched the surface in CRM, because that is just a brand new product that we're working on as well. So yeah, in the next 10 years, we're gonna create a large market for subscription analytics, and we're gonna start becoming a serious player in CRM. And I don't have there's no intention to move to do a different. I like the company we built. Like, it's a great team. We've got a great product. We've gone through a lot of pain to, create a clean architecture and pay down all the tech debt and create a clean architecture. We could do like a lot of, we should be able to sustain a pretty rapid rate of innovation over the next 5-10 years. So we've done all that because I want to be running the company for the next 10 years, and therefore I don't want it to be miserable having to, deal with like, so we got a great team. We got great customers like whale. And thank you. I should say thank you. Yeah, we're not going anywhere. There's no plans to do anything like that, and we're just gonna keep building a company, because I feel like we've built a great company. Let's say that. But we have, a good company, solid company. But we haven't built like, it's not Slack or Notion or like a household name yet. So that's kind of like the next stage. It's like, it's a good company, but it's like, it's not like, everybody. It's only happened like once or twice where I've been somewhere and I've seen ChartMogul on someone's screen who I don't know. It's almost never happens. like it might happen in you know, in a SaaS conference or something, you know. I saw it once at a WeWork in San Francisco a few years ago, and I just saw a random person on the other side of the WeWork with the ChartMogul on the screen. And I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere now. We're getting somewhere. We got to see more of that, you know. So I think we're not where we're not where we want to be yet.
Well, I have no doubt we will be having conversations about that CRM. So looking forward. Thank you for your time, Nick. It's a pleasure to chat to you, especially knowing how busy you are. Appreciate it. And we look forward to watching the growth.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lisa.